Chapter 3. Assets and Allocation. Assets are held onto and gain value and interest over time. They either generate income, reduce your expenses, or have the potential to appreciate, increase in value. When the investments you make in yourself pay off, you become an asset. And unless you become an asset, you get treated like a liability. People who are building wealth are constantly searching for different assets. They are willing to pay the price now to see the profit later. This is the monetized mentality, and it gives them more assets in life, making them wealthier on all levels. The average person monetizes one skill to secure one job. However, this mentality barricades them into a lifestyle and class based on that one skill. This average way of thinking locks in the average results. The greatest secret in the world is that you only have to be a small, measurable amount better than mediocrity, and you've got it made. Og Mandino. To truly achieve wealth, it's not sufficient to monetize only one skill and confine your life to it. Instead, it requires leveraging your skills so that your life is unconstrained by any single thing. Concentrating your skills or investments in a narrow area increases the risk of failure. If that area experiences a downturn or becomes obsolete, you may suffer significant setbacks. Diversifying spreads out this risk, reducing the impact of any single failure or underperformance. In business, all of the richest people diversify their portfolios because no matter how successful you are at one thing, there are always downturns. Even actors don't make millions in one movie and retire. They have a portfolio of movies. Just like an actor, it's beneficial for you to use the success from your first performance to get to the next stage. It's only poor people and the middle class who are taught to applaud the top performers while they sit in place. The audience is conditioned to watch the spotlight beam on the stars while they sit in the dark and clap. Yield. In this context, diversifying your skills and investments is not about randomly investing in different things. It is about learning and investing in one area until you're able to move forward. While that's growing, going on to learn and invest in another area. For example, if you were growing a garden, you wouldn't just plant random seeds all at once without considering their growing seasons and compatibility. Instead, you would plan your garden by focusing on the plants of the season to ensure continuous harvest throughout the year. In the spring, you might start with vegetables like lettuce and peas. As these crops begin to mature, you can then plant summer vegetables like tomatoes and cucumbers. By the time summer arrives, your spring harvest is complete, and you're ready to start enjoying your summer crops. As summer crops begin to yield, you can prepare for the fall by planting cool weather vegetables like kale and broccoli. This approach ensures that you are always eating, with different plants coming to harvest at different times. By creating different assets, you can reap the rewards when they grow in different areas. He had learned now to feed the land as he fed his own body, with patience and with care, and out of it grew his food and his strength. Pearl S. Buck, In the Good Earth. In The Good Earth, the main character Wang Long starts off as a poor farmer with nothing but the skill of gardening. Through patience and consistent effort, he tends to his land, and as his crops thrive, he gradually gains more land and wealth. Symbolically treating your assets and investments as plants allows you to understand that they grow and thrive in cycles. Just as plants have their seasons, so do your investments. By using your current assets to create additional assets, you can offload some of the physical work and let your investments grow independently. This cyclical growth reduces your manual effort and maximizes your returns over time, much like a well-tended garden that yields an abundant harvest season after season. When diversifying your skills and investments, start by mastering one skill or investing in one area. You might begin by learning about stock market investments and putting money into a diversified portfolio of stocks. As your understanding and investments in the market grow, You can then move on to real estate, studying the market, or any other field. Each new area you learn about and invest in can provide new opportunities and reduce your overall risk, just like planting a new crop in your garden. By the time you are ready to invest in a third area, such as bonds or starting a side business, your previous investments will have had time to grow and mature. This strategy not only diversifies your financial portfolio, but also enriches your skill set, making you more adaptable and resilient in the face of economic changes. The monetized mentality empowers you to view your body, mind, and possessions as assets and profit from them all. This allows you to focus on the payoff of every action instead of focusing on the costs. It lets you create and profit from the resources you engage with, sacrificing short-term pleasure for long-term profit. Liabilities. In the short term, what is often praised tends to be liabilities. People with this liability mindset usually view only material objects as assets and see things like retirement solely as an age rather than a financial goal. For example, they might save up for a $5,000 vacation, shopping spree, or luxury items, considering these expenditures worth it. However, they often deem a $5,000 investment or business idea as too risky. They may boast or complain about their spending habits, openly disdain risks, and paradoxically take pride in guaranteed losses. The Richest Man in Babylon by George S. Clason explains best how to view and create assets in simple terms. If you are to become wealthy, then what you save must earn, and its children must earn. Simply put, each asset you own should generate income, which can then create additional value. By making each dollar work for you, you can eventually afford luxuries comfortably. Everything should serve you and your higher purpose, and you must be able to rebuke whatever doesn't. The common belief and excuse is that luxury items are investments, assets. While sometimes it's true, if it's just sitting somewhere not earning money, it won't make you wealthy. As an asset yourself, if you're just sitting and not maximizing your potential, it will cost you respect and social mobility. People will treat you like a liability in this case, instead of a luxury to be around. As politician Mike Enzi said, "If you're not at the table, you're on the menu." Appreciation. In the finance world, assets are either appreciating or depreciating. Appreciating assets are those that increase in value over time, such as real estate, stocks, and certain collectibles. These assets contribute to wealth accumulation and financial stability, offering long-term benefits and growth potential. Focusing on items keeps you broke and reflects a broke mind. A broke-minded person will always end up owing instead of owning. They would rather look well than be wealthy. They don't see that the time and money spent pursuing the symbols could be used to actually gain status. They view everything as what it costs rather than what it's worth, and always have to pay later. They will brag about what items cost that make them look good, but complain about what essential items cost for their health and wellness. You can tell who's broke-minded because they criticize people based on location instead of route or destination. They only want what is praised and only praise what is wanted. This concept of appreciation and depreciation extends beyond financial assets to personal relationships and self-worth. If you are not being appreciated in your personal or professional life, you may start to feel unvalued and depressed, leading to a decline in self-esteem and personal growth, much like a depreciating asset. Just as a depreciating asset drains your financial resources, a lack of appreciation can erode your mental and emotional well-being. Depreciating assets like cars, electronics, and most consumer goods lose value as time passes. They may provide immediate gratification, but do not contribute to long-term wealth building. To ensure you are an appreciating asset in your own life, It is crucial to seek environments and relationships that recognize and enhance your value. Like a seed, you can only grow and take over in certain areas, but like a gardener, you can plant yourself in an environment where you can flourish. Surround yourself with people who appreciate your contributions, support your growth, and encourage your development. Failing to recognize your worth and planting yourself in the right places at the right time can kill your ambitions. Just like planting a cactus in the snow, you won't grow. Learning where you can grow and planting yourself there can be an isolated, silent process. At the same time, it's worth considering that you don't hear or see growth. Over time, things show up. Status symbols. In Invisible Influence by Jonah Berger, he states that, "Wealth is often private. Status, however, is social. It is obtained in the eyes of others." He shows evidence that there's a pattern of names and prices not always matching. He says, "For every $5,000 increase in price, the logo shrinks by a centimeter. Luxury items with less prominent logos are more expensive. Quieter signals cost more." The takeaway is that communicating wealth usually requires understanding its subtle signals. The bigger brands charge more for smaller logos because the wealthy customers strive to differentiate themselves from people who are broke-minded. Speaking the language implies that what can be seen is not what matters. Understanding this concept can drastically impact how you approach both personal branding and financial decisions. By adopting the mindset of appreciating and investing in a subtle way, you can align yourself more closely with affluent behaviors. This strategy not only helps you build authentic wealth, but also in gaining social status in circles where understated elegance is the norm. Thus, while the broke-minded think that they are communicating wealth, they are mostly doing so for others who don't understand. It's like getting a Japanese tattoo that says, "ketchup," that you believe says, "love." You may look cultured to an American, but like a fool to a native Japanese speaker. The pain of the tattoo was in vain. So as long as they stay around people who also don't speak the language, the broke-minded never need to understand being wealthy. Status symbols are to money what the alphabet is to the English language. They mean nothing if you can't put them together. A person with little social capital with a monetized mentality can communicate better with the wealthy than a person with a Rolex and no sense. The watch can start a conversation, but it won't carry it. If they start talking about other assets and you only know about a Rolex, you'll be lost and forgotten. Working hard is a given, and the majority of people on Earth work hard, but the majority of people aren't wealthy either. The distinction is how hard you make your assets work for you. Your knowledge of what things are worth, even in a few markets, sets you apart from the crowd. Being literate in the symbols of wealth allows you to recognize and use them on your road to riches the same way you use street signs when traveling. It also enables you to interact more fluently in high-status environments and people. Recognizing and appropriately responding to these symbols can open doors to networking opportunities and social circles that might otherwise remain inaccessible. Chasing status gets many people lost in their social class for a few reasons. One is that it causes you to use your money to thrive in your current environment. This makes you comfortable where you are, and as P.T. Barnum said, "Comfort is the enemy of progress." Two is looking the part without being able to play the part. You may look like a hotshot to the people around you with less, but the wasted money and misguided focus can hold you back. This is not to say that victories shouldn't be celebrated. It's just trophies wait for victories. The monetized mentality is to focus on the victories and make the trophies work for you. People with a monetized mentality look at the majority of what they can touch as tools rather than trophies. The size of a man's income has considerable effect on his access to the world beyond his neighborhood. With money, he can overcome almost every tangible obstacle of communication. He can travel, buy books and periodicals, and bring within the range of his attention any known fact of the world. But men's ideas determine how income shall be spent, and that in turn affects in the long run the amount of income they will have. Thus also there are limitations nonetheless real, because they are often self-imposed and self-indulgent. Walter Lippmann, in Public Opinion. Most people spend their free time and money comparing cars and clothes, watching movies, etc. They often talk to the same people about the same things, with no opposing views. These people don't really suffer from being broke or oppressed, but from a lack of hunger and thirst for knowledge. There is no barrier preventing them from getting new things. The failure and unwillingness to explore new things is what keeps them in the same class. Think of your social class as a classroom. If you're in the 4th grade, everyone around you is doing the work of a 4th grader. Your focus is then on being a 4th grader and doing what 4th graders do, completely oblivious of lessons that 12th graders are doing and why they behave how they do. The kid in the 12th grade who wants a 4.8 GPA or to have college credits not only does different work but extra work. Therefore, his activities are beyond the comprehension of a 4th grader. So as your classmates are discussing the same topics, they move as if fixed on a leash within a fixed radius of acquaintances. Walter Lippmann. Spending their extra time on the same things, to be the first one in their class to do what they've seen done in the class above them do. Thus, the broke-minded man is nothing more than a copycat, and copycats never become big dogs. Copycats strive to be the first ones to do things second. Big dogs put their hunger for growth and hunger first. If you're doing the same work, you'll be in the same class. Translate this to competing with classmates, neighbors, and co-workers. True wealth is mobility and freedom. Status creates the symbols, and the broke-minded devalues the status of the symbols. When the symbols no longer have the status, the wealthy rise from the ashes and the broke-minded are left in the dust. Attention. It's not an asset if it's not working for you. Anyone can make money without a monetized mentality, and most do. A gambler can win huge sometimes. A hustler can always find hustles. A worker can always find a job, and a hard worker will always work harder instead of smarter. However, the monetized mentality is to profit from things, not to constantly work for them. A broke mind only sees symbols, though, not the status. Since they're constantly buying things that make them lose value, they are constantly working to buy more. Each liability adds a hole in their ship that keeps them focused on repairing instead of sailing. Since they thrive in the short run, it can make those focused on the long run seem too slow. Yet the long run is a greater distance, thus requires more patience. The less talent they have, the more pride, vanity, and arrogance they have. All these fools, however, find other fools who applaud them. Desiderius Erasmus. The biggest difference between the monetized mentality and broke mind is the foregoing of a look for the vision. Having a monetized mentality gives you the vision that everything that you come across can be an asset. If it produces value, it's an asset and can be monetized. Therefore, however valuable you make your mind and body, the more wealthy you can become. Although you can be an asset, there are limits to how your value can be spread. Your body can only be in one place, and so can your mind. To spread valuable at a growing rate, the need to build systems comes into play. Most people put themselves on sale, thus becoming sellouts. Sellouts settle for what they're given and lose interest over time. Being focused on what they're getting allows their buyer to take a toll on them. Yet, people will brag about what they're paid despite being undervalued. This applies to any deal, relationship, or similar situation. You only have to take what you can get when you can't afford to give what you're getting. When a fish takes the bait, it gets hooked on whatever the fisherman puts in his mouth. Without looking to see what the bait is connected to, You get pulled into things that are hard to escape. While we are often taught to be excellent workers and make ourselves available for service, this approach devalues individuals, reducing them to mere tools for employers. This necessitates a different perspective on labor, work, and hiring in order to build personal wealth. Although cheap labor can be easily purchased, it's crucial to recognize and capitalize on your unique qualities. Robert Greene's Law 6 from the 48 Laws of Power states, "Court attention at all costs." Greene advises, never be afraid of the qualities that set you apart and draw attention to you. Customers pay for quality in products and the unique qualities in people. In this case, anyone willing to employ you is your customer. To capitalize on this, you must be authentic and effectively market yourself. Influencers and celebrities exemplify this by leveraging their unique qualities and drawing attention. They attract crowds and monetize their influence by guiding people into buying products. Your name is a blank check at birth. Your thoughts, qualities, and actions inscribe your value. Even if you don't aim for fame, you can still use your unique qualities to create wealth. Recognizing accounting for your qualities, you can find in others things that you lack. This is how brands and producers monetize people with desirable qualities and remain private. Their view on things is to make other people and their skills work for them. Effort. I would rather earn 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of my own efforts. John D. Rockefeller. This mentality made him the richest man in America and allowed him to monopolize the oil industry. He first learned accounting and then how oil refineries worked. His knowledge of his field and his ability to recognize people's qualities gave him control over the whole industry. People's willingness to be paid off, among other shrewd tactics, allowed him the freedom to impose his will on whatever market he chose. To apply this strategy, you can focus on building and recognizing your own assets while also appreciating and utilizing the skills of others. By doing so, you can create a powerful network that multiplies your efforts and maximizes your potential for success. The monetized mentality encourages you to account for the assets you have and use them to profit. This is not intended to be manipulative. Instead, it's an exchange of value where both parties benefit. Conversely, it is common to be manipulated by those who value your assets but do not compensate you fairly or use your weaknesses against you. And accounting for your weaknesses protects you from this. When people want to get a mentor or go on a date with someone, they make offers to go eat or grab coffee. This is when value is downplayed. The person who wants to go out wants the person's presence to absorb their value. The person of interest gets to choose whether they want to share their value so they can raise the stakes, accept, or decline the invite. Monetizing the situation would be to use the situation as leverage in their life, whether it's the relationship, conversation, knowledge, etc. Even if it's the free meal, they're deliberately saving their money to do something else. Your skills work for you the same way and are translated into materials that aren't always money. Becoming an asset to others affords you free meals, shopping trips, and introductions that can improve your life in a wealth of ways. To truly capitalize on your worth, you must recognize and harness your skills and attributes. This involves knowing when to negotiate for better terms, leveraging opportunities for personal gain, and constantly improving your abilities. Each interaction and transaction should be a step towards increasing your value, not diminishing it. This is the importance of creating and utilizing different assets. When you start to accumulate more assets, you become too valuable to focus on one, thus becoming more wealthy. At that point, the most valuable asset is the one that can be used to create systems that churn work for you while you're working on something else.
Merzeel.